There are no high limit or outlaw shows this week, but there is sprint car intrigue elsewhere. We'll talk about your options, plus the future for CJ Leary, and one racetrack using an innovative approach to help with officiating. Let's go. It's Tuesday, October 29th. I'm Justin Fiedler. This is DIRTRACKR Daily presented by Kubota Genuine Parts. If I remember correctly, I believe this coming weekend will be our first since the July 4th break, where we have no scheduled World of Outlaws or high-limit sprint car races. Obviously, high limit done for the season, and we're in a lull here before the 2024 finale for the Outlaws at World Finals. I do want to point you towards a few other shows, though, coming up, as there are some things to watch at some other 410 races in the coming days. The first is the Short Track Nationals at Texarkana 67. This one is an ASCS Elite Winged 410 show now. The Short Track Nationals used to be a 360 show. The early entry list is an interesting cast of characters. You've got some 360 guys that are both in the 410s, and plus National Tour drivers like Casey Kane and Chris Windom. Also, Garrett Williamson, Erin Reitzel, Austin McCarl are some names that are pre-entered. This was also the show where we were supposed to get the Rudeen debut of Justin Peck, but their plans might be changing. There is some weather forecasted for this weekend around Texarkana, so that might make some of these drivers reconsider and potentially race elsewhere. If racing does happen, though, I like the driver mix here. I think it could be really entertaining a couple of nights. Another option is the POWRi Winged 410 finale at Lake Ozark. If they don't hit up Texarkana, this could be a landing spot for the Peck Rudeen debut. Usual suspects here with POWRi, that includes Ayrton Jenton, who's already secured the championship, plus Blake Hahn, names like Gunnar Ramey, Xavier Doney, and more. At Bridgeport in New Jersey on Saturday, you've got 10 grand to win for 410s plus modified. This one's going to draw a lot of the Central PA crowd, your Anthony Macri's, your Justin Whittles, Danny Dietrich, all of those guys. This is one of the final races of the year in that area. And then we're likely going to get the debut of Dazen Pursley in the Buick 13 at this race. There had also been some talk about CJB possibly running this one with their new driver, but that might not happen as we still haven't gotten an official announcement there about who that driver actually is. If that happens in the coming days, though, this could potentially be a spot for this. With Dazen Pursley and Buick, remember, this team will go full-time high limit next year, so this will be their first chance to kind of work together and start, making their way for next season. And out in California, the NARC finale happens Saturday at Stockton. We've got the tight points battle. We'll also see others potentially run in that field. We know Spencer Bayston made his debut with JMR last weekend, and Ryan Timms was again in the Roth car. Timms is actually listed as an entrant for Bridgeport in that Hefner Kurt Michael 27. And JMR previously said we'd see Spencer Bayston again at World Finals, so I'm not sure what their plans are for this weekend. I would assume Timms is going to be at Bridgeport, but we'll see what Bayston does. But I wanted to spotlight some other sprint car options coming up later this week in case you wanted to make some plans to see some other racing. In some non-wing news from yesterday, CJ Leary will run the full Silver Crown schedule in 2025. That's going to happen in a joint deal between Team AZ, Petty Performance, and Phil Rossi. Leary was 4th in the Silver Crown Championship this year with 10 top 10s and 6 top 5s in 14 races. I think this is noteworthy because the Team AZ sprint car is open for 2025 with Dazen Pursley moving on to winged action with Buick, like I just talked about. They're going full-time high limit. Leary is scheduled to run the Team AZ sprint car during the Western World events at Mojave Valley this weekend, and I think this could be a preview for next year. Leary has been rumored to be an option for the full USAC sprint car season with Team AZ replacing Pursley. Pursley was 3rd in sprint car points this year with Leary 5th, and we know that 21 AZ car can win races. We saw Jake Swanson have success in it, and Pursley won twice this year. The USAC sprint car side will be wide open, I think, for 2025. Remember, Brady Bacon moving on besides Pursley. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for guys to win races where maybe there hadn't been in the past. For my main topic today, I wanted to point you guys towards something interesting happening at Atomic Speedway in Ohio. Officiating races, always difficult, we know that, especially when you only have a handful of people to cover a lot of area and a lot of race cars. And that's even more true at the local level, where you have even less resources and a lot of times a lot of volunteers. But Atomic's race director Dave Andrews experimented towards the end of this season with some technology to help him out, and he'll likely use it regularly next year. We've had multiple scenarios in 2024 with jumped starts and how they were getting called or not called and how drivers get penalized or not penalized in those instances. And there are usually a few a season that cause controversy, so 2024 was not different in that area. This happens every year. Those race starts, though, and how they are officiated, it's a judgment call in real time from the race director in the tower. But then in the aftermath, we always get the flow or dirt vision screenshots with photoshopped lines and frame-by-frame breakdowns by armchair officials on social media of who got penalized, who shouldn't have, and who should have. It's easy to see things like that in slow motion, but those race directors, they don't have that luxury. These are quick-moving situations, and there are a lot of obstacles. And because of the bang-bang nature, certain drivers, get favored, supposedly, or not, and we've had jump-start penalties not levied until many laps later. This was always one that, frustrates and annoys me. It actually happened not long ago at Trophy Cup, where Kobe Copeland didn't find out he was penalized for not lining up correctly until the cool-down lap where he thought he'd won. At Atomic, though, Andrews used a drone above turn 4, which sends an HD 4K signal back to the tower so he can see those starts from a much better angle and in real time. He told me that he hasn't used it yet to make live calls, but did use the drone footage to review starts, post-race, and then potentially during the event if he had time to do that. His plan is to use the drone for live calls in 2025, however. Having the drone flying above eliminates that poor visibility, those poor angles. That's a problem at a lot of racetracks, and it makes it easier to see not only the front of the field, but the entire field. Andrews is going to push the footage to a monitor in the tower next to him so he can basically have an eye on the track and another eye on the monitor to keep things fair. And to me, this is no different than other sports using video replay to get calls right, and I'm honestly kind of surprised I haven't seen this tried elsewhere. If I've missed that, certainly let me know in the comments. With so much technology out there, though, I do think we can see better officiating with some investment of some resources and some time. I do think it'll take Andrews some period to fine-tune his process, how all of this works, where he puts his equipment and all of that. And there'll also be an adjustment period for competitors, to figure out how things are called and how they need to approach this. But I really like this move. Drones are becoming cheaper and cheaper to acquire, and many have features that allow for nearly autonomous use. Andrews, or maybe a helper in the infield, can fly the drone up to the correct altitude. Those drones, using GPS, then can hold their position without really needing human interaction. So Andrews could fly this thing up at the start of heat races, leave it there, and then fly it back down and have it ready for the rest of the night. We've already seen a ton of drone usage for broadcast, so why not also use it for things like officiating? But hat tip, Dave Andrews. Before we close out, I wanted to spotlight Wing Nation co-host Erin Evernham today. It was 20 years ago this day that she became the first and only woman to win a World of Outlaws sprint car feature with a victory at the Tulare Thunder Bowl. October 29, 2004, Erin led 5 laps and topped what is effectively a who's who of the best sprint car drivers to ever do it. The top 10 behind Erin in that race was Paul McMahon, Jack Hodenshield, Steve Kinzer, Brian Paulus, Donnie Schatz, Brooke Tatnell, Tim Kading, Jason Solwald, and Craig Delansky. And names like Darren Pittman, Joey Saldana, Jason Myers, Danny Lasowski also in that race. Check out this week's episode of Wing Nation as they are going to dive into all of this. But very cool. I can't believe it's been 20 years ago since that happened. That's the Daily Show for today. If you want to find some more dirt racing videos, head over to youtube.com/DIRTRACKR. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a full list of other dirt racing YouTube channels there, including those for tracks and series and drivers. You can discover something new and hit that subscribe button for some of the other dirt racing content creators out there. Hope you guys have a great Tuesday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.